Hello, and welcome to the InCrea Plus curriculum. Video Lesson 1. In this video we will be focusing on the main challenges to inclusion in education. The main challenges to inclusion that we will focus on are migration, special needs and disabilities, poverty, financial challenges, and digitalization. Giftedness. The COVID-19 pandemic. The main risk factors or challenges related to inclusion in education, underpinned by migration are language barriers, culture, mental health, race, gender and religion, teachers' preparedness. Language barriers. One of the most prevailing challenges to inclusive education. The main problems caused by language barriers for migrant students are: they are unable to understand the material and they need repetition. It diminished self-confidence. Require more after-school hours to avoid falling behind on the learning material. The struggle with exclusion. Culture has also a variety of multifaceted challenges. Different non-verbal communication, leading to misunderstandings between teachers and migrant students and among classmates, bullying, mockery, exclusion, frustration, confusion. Stereotypes caused by misrepresentation of the cultural characteristics of migrant students. Social affiliation insecurity, that leads to depression. Mental health directly affects students' performance. Post-traumatic stress disorders result in lack of concentration, low educational performances, difficulty in adjusting to the new environment. Students feel like outcasts. Conflicts, violence and aggressivity. Racial awareness stays at the center of effective teaching in a multicultural classroom. Teachers should consider ways to develop an inclusive class climate that respects all the students in the classroom. Racial bullying leads to depression, conflicts, exclusion and physical abuse. Religion represents a barrier because of diverging public holidays and values. Lack of understanding of practices and their acceptance. These lead to conflicts, insults, discrimination, exclusion from the educational process and affected social relationships. Regarding the gender, educational systems often perpetuate rather than challenge gender inequalities. Worldwide, girls have more limited access to education than boys. Migrant families may hold back their daughters from school. In some countries, boys and girls study separately, especially after a certain age. Teachers as part of the society have stereotypes and prejudices related to diversity. Examples of stereotypes: racial discrimination, gender roles, cultural stereotypes. Prejudices represent the difficulty in teaching a multicultural classroom effectively or providing EA. Teachers' needs in the current society. Training to address these challenges. Adjusting the teaching style to teaching a diverse class. Follow the curriculum while simultaneously teaching a new language to some students. Considering extra time to be provided to some of the new migrant students. The second category of risk factors and challenges is related to special needs and disabilities. Disability represents a physical, mental or psychological condition that limits a person's activity. It is either innate or acquired. What are the challenges prompted by disabilities? Difficulty in accessing various health services. Difficulty in accessing employment and education. The attitude of other people. Preparing the children with special educational needs for inclusive education is complicated because it needs curriculum adaptation. Adapting the teaching methods. Modified assessment techniques. Accessibility arrangements. In order to overcome the challenges to inclusive education for children with disabilities, teachers need to place the students with disabilities adequately within the classroom. Provide equal treatment. Design individual education plan. Create a circle of friends. Adopt or apply the so-called Universal Design for Learning, UDL. The third category of risk factors we will refer to is poverty, financial challenges and digitalization. Poverty is intrinsically linked to a variety of issues that affect education, like hunger and malnutrition, lack of home and shelter, poor health care, abnormalities and disabilities. Poverty, along with cultural and linguistic differences, lower academic achievement and has as a result high dropout rates. Effects of poverty for schools. Most schools lack adaptations or facilities that ensure accessibility for children with physical disabilities, elevators, railings, handicapped bathrooms, due to big costs. Also, additional personnel require extra funding, since there is inadequate human and fiscal capacity. From a family perspective, parents are unable to engage in their children's studies and cannot help them with assignments. And they can't ensure adequate nutrition for their children, because of the high costs of food, and this has a negative impact on both health care, sanitation, and school performance. Education-related expenses that present a challenge to low-income families. Textbooks and materials. Clothing. Transportation. Digitalization. Another risk factor related to inclusion in education is giftedness. Gifted learners are talented, creative and innovative, but inexplicably ignored in their need to learn in a particular way. There are two categories of gifted children. Verbally gifted, they leave the impression that they are ahead of what is happening in the classroom, and visual-spatially gifted children, they formulate more lateral or creative concepts that question the teaching process. You may ask, does education cater to the needs of the gifted students? The school environment does not offer the most appropriate opportunities and conditions for them to learn or to demonstrate what they know, and teachers have a limited capacity to spot and identify the multiple manifestations of giftedness. Another special category are the twice exceptional children. They manifest a combination of exceptional abilities and learning, highly gifted in maths, writing or music, and they have challenges affecting their learning, ADHD, dyslexia, dyscalculia, autism. Challenges they face. If successfully identified, the support they need in school is difficult. If they are not identified, they are not challenged in a meaningful way and become frustrated and anxious. List of some general behavioral traits that gifted children may exhibit. They are curious and motivated. Ask many questions. Have a good memory. Quickly retain information. Master reading skills early. Demonstrate strong maths skills. Think independently. Express unique and original opinions. Possess higher-level thinking and problem-solving skills. Have a strong sense of justice and like to engage in debates on current issues and real-life problems. The last risk factor related to inclusion in education we will focus on is COVID-19. A small part of the challenges of the remote learning that affect vulnerable learners are barriers to engaging with technology, risk of exploitation, limited access to quality health care, family violence, neglect or abuse, lack adequate food in the absence of access to free or subsidized school meals and malnutrition, reduced access to educational supports and individualized learning interventions, the loss of social connections, inaccessible resources for blind or deaf students, even if the technology exists. The struggle with independent work in front of a computer for the students with attention deficit, hyperactivity disorder, or learners who are sensitive to change, such as those with autism spectrum disorders. Schools offer social services beyond academic learning, encouraging the enrollment and retention of young people who might otherwise be excluded from education and society. But these services have been limited during the pandemic. Access to school-based nutrition and nutritional supplement programs. Access to specialized or rehabilitative care. Access to the formal mental health and psychosocial support services often provided in schools. Social amenities and safeguards. The United Nations decided to prioritize education recovery to avoid a generational catastrophe. Recovering education aims to ensure that no child is left behind, ensuring all children and youth are back in school and receiving comprehensive support to succeed. Every child is learning, accelerating learning and breaking down the digital learning divide. All teachers are empowered, supporting the teaching workforce. And that ends our video lesson. We hope that this has been useful to you and you have enjoyed the content.